Hey, what's up? My name's Samuel Leeds, and in this video, I want to talk about the rules, the regulations, and the legislation of HMOs. This is really important. If you're interested in HMOs, you need to understand the rules and legislation, and so many people get confused about the difference between planning permission, licensing, Article 4, selective licensing. They get it all mixed up and they don't know whether you need a license, whether you need planning, what do you need to do in order to buy a house, turn it into a HMO, and make sure that it's legally sound. So this video is really, really important if you are interested in HMOs. Please do me a massive favor though. Smash the like button. I literally put out a video about property every single day. I've done hundreds of deals in property. I've been investing in property for over a decade, and I do this for free. I hardly even have adverts on my channel, so I don't hardly get paid to really do this. This is just because I genuinely want to help people like you succeed in property. So just do me a favor, smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on so that you don't miss a video. HMOs. What is a HMO? Well, you know what a HMO is. It's a house in multiple occupancy where you rent it out room by room. Now, a licensed HMO. Do you need a license for a HMO? Let's park planning, park Article 4, park selective licensing, park everything else. Let's just talk about HMO licenses. And the answer is, it depends on the size of the HMO. If the HMO has got 5 or more people that are going to be living in the HMO, you are generally going to need a license for that property. Now, this isn't always the case. Sometimes, depending on the area, like there are some areas like Oxford, for example, that require a license even if there's only 4 people. But the rule of thumb across the board is that if there's 5 or more people in the HMO, then you're going to need a license. If there's just 4 people, 4 rooms, 4 people, you will not need a HMO license, generally speaking. Now, always check on the council website to see what the rules are in each different area, because it can vary, but this is the case nearly all of the time. So, how do you get a HMO license? Well, you apply on the council website. Do you have to wait until you get your license before you can start renting out the rooms? And the answer is no. You apply for the license, and as soon as you've applied, you can then start renting out the rooms, and you don't have to wait to get the license. You just have to make sure that you apply. So that's HMO licenses. It costs around about, it depends, but around about £1,000 to get a HMO license, and this will last for up to, I think it's 5 years. Yeah, 5 years that will last for. So that's a HMO license. Your HMO will be accepted as a license if the house is appropriate. Namely, there's fire doors, smoke alarms, the bedrooms are 70 square foot, the kitchen's big enough, you need ½ a meter of workspace per tenant. So the house needs to be appropriate, and also you need to be, you don't need to be an appropriate landlord, you don't need any experience necessary to get a license, but you can't be a criminal, for example. So for more details about whether a house will apply for a license, speak to the council. You can actually get the council. They'll sometimes do it for free, or they'll charge a nominal fee to come out to the house before you buy it and tell you if it's appropriate for a license or not. So I'd recommend, if you do plan on getting a HMO that's licensed, I'd recommend getting the council to come and visit beforehand. Also, read on the council website the list of requirements that a licensed HMO in that area needs. So that's licensing. Is it difficult? No, it's relatively straightforward. Just make sure that the council are assisting you so the property is up to scratch. Next, planning permission. So do you need planning permission to turn a property into a HMO? This is entirely different from licensing, and people get so mixed up between the two. So licensing, we've talked about. There is selective licensing, by the way. I might do a whole nother video about that. But some areas have got selective licensing, which means that you need a license sometimes just to own any property at all. Like if you want to be a landlord in Wales, I am a landlord in Wales. If you want to buy a house and rent it out, even just to one person, you need a license. But this is selective licensing. Selective licensing is in different areas. It's not in every area. Selective licensing might cost you anywhere from I think it's about £400 on average, and again, that will last you for, I think it's 5 years. But always check, okay? And the reason I sometimes say I think is because different areas do change, so I don't want to give you hard and fast figures and time, how long they'll last, because it can vary a little bit. So I'll do a whole separate video about selective licensing, but this is more about HMOs. Licensing. Next, planning. So do you need planning permission to turn a property into a HMO? So generally speaking, unless there's Article 4 in the area, which we're going to talk about in a moment, generally speaking, you do not need planning permission to turn a property into a HMO unless the property is being turned into a HMO, which has got 7 or more rooms. So if you're buying a property and you're going to be turning it into from a family home into a 7-bed HMO, you're going to need planning permission. If it's 8, 9, 10, you're going to need planning permission because it's a complete change of use. You only need planning permission for a property when it's a change of use. So if you're changing the way that the property is being used, you need planning permission. So most councils would say turning a 3-bed family home into a 4-bed HMO, it's not really a big change of use because you're just renting it out room by room, no big deal. In fact, for four rooms, you're not even going to need a license most of the time. That's okay. Planning, if there's 7 or more people, you now need to put a planning application in. And again, you can do this with your council. You're going to put a pre-planning application in to see what the likelihood is. Even before you do that, you can just call the council and tell them your situation to get a bit of a feel for if you're going to be able to get planning. Then you're going to put a pre-app in, and then you're going to actually get the full planning. This is something that can be a little bit of a process. Sometimes the council can battle you on things. So a lot of my students, and a lot of the time what I've done, is I've just stuck to 6-bed HMOs. So, 6-bed, 4-bed and 6-bed is the sweet spot. Because 4-bed, you don't need planning, you don't need a license. 5-bed, you need a license. 6-bed is the sweet spot because you don't need planning, you're going to need a license anyway. So I like 4 and 6 beds usually. So that's planning permission, okay? Now, there is an exception, and that's Article 4. If there's Article 4 in an area, that's a zone, it's a direction that the council put into certain areas, and that means that you need planning permission, which is separate from licensing, planning permission to turn any property into a multi-let. Even if it's only a 3-bed multi-let. 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter, you need planning permission. So if an area is Article 4, you will need planning permission to buy a property and turn it into a HMO. This is a real pain, so I would suggest that if it's Article 4 area, either buy existing HMOs and then just do them up and modernise them, or move area. Now, if an area is Article 4 and you own a property prior to Article 4 coming in, you're okay. And you're going to prove this by showing your AST contracts with your tenants to demonstrate that you've been using it as a multi-let or as a HMO prior to Article 4 coming in. In fact, that's really good because then you have the grandfather rights, the prices go up, and your competition dies. So that's planning, that's Article 4, that's what HMO licensing is. This might sound really complicated. You might be like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. There's so much rules and legislation. The great thing about the rules and legislation is it keeps the cowboys away. It's not that complicated when you understand it. And because HMOs are already regulated, I don't think they're going to get any more regulated. So we can buy HMOs with confidence knowing that when we buy them right, it's a strategy that's got longevity to it. Even in recessions, HMOs are pretty recession proof because as people can't afford houses, they're going to rent rooms. So I really like HMOs. I've been doing HMOs now I bought my first HMO in 2009 and I've built up quite a large portfolio of HMOs, mostly in Birmingham, but I've got HMOs dotted all over the place, but mostly in Birmingham and the Midlands. I've also packaged and sold hundreds of HMO properties as well. So hope this video was helpful. If you've got questions about HMOs, I'd probably check out my YouTube channel on a Sunday, because on Sundays I do a Q&A session. So every single Sunday. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Please do smash the like button, subscribe. And if you want to learn more about HMOs, I'll put a video just up here where you can learn about the basics of HMOs. If you want to hear a success story of one of my students, how they've successfully become financially independent via HMOs, then you can listen to an interview and many more, but start by listening to this one. And please do me a massive favor and subscribe over here as well. That'd be fantastic. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you next time.